What is going on, guys? It's the Mad Dragon. I'm here today, joined by the Rugby Guru. Thank you for being with us, Guru. We're going to be talking through a bit of a preview for the South Africa Test 1 versus the British and Irish Lions. There is an awful lot to talk about. We've got some big teams, some surprising teams named, and I'm really looking forward to getting to this. How are you doing, Guru?
No, I'm doing well. Thank you, Mad Dragon. Pleasure to be on your show.
Awesome. So, of course, we had the South Africa A game. That was a bit of a surprising one. Everyone sort of expected that to be a bit of a lower end game. South Africa came out with the big boy team that we've basically had Test 1 already. What were your thoughts after that game of how that one went?
Yeah, I'm just glad that we pulled it off because, Rassie and Jacques Nienaber went full out with that side. Normally, when you expect the South African A side, you expect fringe players. Like, for instance, maybe the one that played against the Bulls on that next weekend. So, yeah, I was ecstatic with the victory. It felt like a pure test match. And if that is going to go by anything we expect to see in the test matches, it's going to be a cracking test series.
Yeah, well, I think that South Africa A thing, I actually expected that to be a little bit more confident from the Lions. I actually think the Lions team that played in that game was, in my opinion, it was bigger than the team that's going to be playing this one. Of course, we'll get onto that team eventually. But I was expecting that to be an awful lot closer. And South Africa coming in, of course, they had their game against Georgia cancelled. So it was a great tactical move by management to have them all play that game as pretty much a full squad, get another test game in, basically. But I really wasn't expecting just how good the team was going to be. I thought there'd be a lot of rust, a couple of things moving. The end of the game for me began to peter off a little bit for the South African team. I think when the replacements came on, there was a little bit of the momentum was taken back and Lions knew something was a little bit desperate. But I thought there was relatively good game management. I thought there was good gameplay. I thought taking the points when they were needed. And at the end, of course, it was in that sort of one score area. And they certainly managed to seal out the game. So I was quite impressed and looking forward to this game. I think they're going to be doing pretty much the same thing again. And I don't really know if the Lions are going to have the best counter to it. But we'll see how we get on there. So looking forward towards this one. What do we think of the Lions announcement so far? So first of all, we have Alan Wynne-Jones is back. That's the first big call. What's the thoughts on Alan Wynne back being captain and taking over the team?
Well, I think from a South African perspective, we're delighted to have him back. Not that we don't rate him as a player, but knowing that he has been out with a dislocated shoulder, recovered in a matter of 2 weeks, I think, or 3 weeks it is.
Yeah.
So all is expected that he's not 100% fit and that he's not 100% healed from his injury. So you can expect Etzebeth to have a good crack at him in that opening 20 minutes to see whether he will last. But as far as the captaincy goes for that Lions side, the experience that he brings and that calmness that he brings to the Lions squad, I think you cannot replace that sort of experience by any person that was available to this Lions squad. So, yeah, at the end of the day, I think it's the right choice. But whether he will be fit and 100%, we'll only see after that first test, though.
Yeah, I think they'll come. I mean, they were so desperate. The story, I mean, you won't see it over where you are, but in Britain, anything to do with newspapers, any articles you look at about rugby, it was all about this recovery journey for Alan Wynne to get back. Will he get to play a game? He got named to play the Stormers when they were on, and there was big hype around he's going to come back on. Everyone's celebrating that he's going to come back, and would he get the captaincy for this one? I don't know whether it was playing up to the hype of it a little bit, or whether it is a fantastic move by Gatland. I'm sure there is a great team morale boost to have this done. But I think I'm in agreement with you. I think the fitness thing is going to be a big thing. Whether he's actually going to play the full 80 minutes, I don't know. I think it's going to be a big test for him. I mean, the big one for me will be playing that game, getting in 10 minutes. And like you said, someone like Etzebeth lines him up for a massive hit. And 4 or 5 minutes, like we saw in that Japan game, and he dislocates the same arm again. It's easy to do. It can happen. And he'll want to stay on the pitch, but there's every chance he could go straight back off the pitch, and then everyone's morale is down, and then South Africa pretty much just away with taking a bit of a freebie there. But they'll hopefully look on. So what do we think of the team? Let's start off with the Lions team. That's what I know most about. We'll move on to the South Africa team. What do you think of the Lions team as a whole, as it's been named?
Well, looking at this side, I knew that Hawk was going to start. I've always been skeptical about Watson. I don't rate him as high as other people do. I would have loved to seen Josh Adams in that side because I mean he's been the inform winger on tour, and we all know he had his birth of his child, so maybe his mind is not 100% at the game. So maybe he will get a chance in that second test. Elliot Daly, for me, a big surprise. I mean, he's played really well in the two games that he has played at the outside centre. So it was a little bit of a surprise that he would start. I would have gone with Owen Farrell and Robbie Henshaw as a centre combination. Duan van der Merwe has been in great form. I mean, you've seen him run great angles, get over that advantage line, and really just cause havoc in that provincial sides of the South African teams. But the question is, can he defend against the likes of Chest and Colby? And the moment South Africa put him under pressure with the high balls and stuff, will he be able to take that pressure? And obviously, because he's a South African, and we think that maybe he's betrayed us as a country, we might put a little bit extra onto him. I don't know. And then obviously Dan Bigger, for me, there's no other choice at this stage. Although Marcus Smith played an exceptional game against the Stormers, I would have gone bold and actually picked Marcus Smith at fly-off just to see how it goes. It's the first test. If you lose it, there's two more. So, yeah, I'm a bit surprised that they did go with Bigger there. Ali Price, obviously, he's been the informed scrum half. A lot of people say it's a big surprise that he's ahead of Conor Murray, but Conor Murray's form hasn't been that great. He's actually struggled at the provincial level. Ali Price, every time he's played, he's put fire into that ruck. He's had a couple of darts himself, puts away his backline pretty well. So not a big surprise there. With Jack Conan at number 8, it was always going to be the question, who's going to play in that number 8? Will it be Faletau? Will it be Jack Conan? Or will it be Sam Simmons? Now, I think Jack Conan's form over the course of these provincial games that gave him the notch. Sam Simmons haven't been playing the world on fire, let's be honest, in this provincial series. And then Faletau has had its up and down, had a couple of good line breaks, but just a little bit slow at the breakdown, one can say at this stage. So Jack Conan deserves his place as well. Tom Curry for me. So with Tom Curry at number 7, you have to ask the question, do you play Tom Curry or do you play Hamish Watson in that position? And can they actually play together in one team? So I think for that reason, he went with Tom Curry's form in the last couple of games, maybe bring Watson on as a super sub in that regard, or maybe end up playing them all together. My big surprise was having Courtney Laws in that starting lineup. And I've been doing all these games, and for some reason I've missed the kind of form that Courtney Laws has been in. I've went to check some ratings that they gave him, and they all give him massive ratings. So I must have missed something down the line. I wouldn't have started Courtney Laws, to be quite honest. Alwyn Jones, for me, like I say, if he can prove his fitness, he's a valuable asset to the team. His captaincy will be vital. And just the experience and calmness that he brings to the back of forwards. Then we all know Maro Itoje has been in great form as well. Discipline-wise, he hasn't been tested yet. We did see a few scuffles between him and Etzebeth in that SAA game. So whether his discipline will hold up, that's a big question mark for me. But overall, you can't judge his form. Furlong, brilliant player. You can't get better than him at tight at this stage. Luke Cowan-Dickie has played himself into the starting lineup ahead of Jamie George, although I do feel that Jamie George had a great game last time out. But overall, Cowan-Dickie has been really exceptional. And then Wyn Jones outplayed Trevor Nyakani in that SAA game, so he'll be looking to do exactly the same on this weekend.
Yeah,
that pretty much sums it up.
We'll break it down a little bit. So the front row for me, this was the front row pretty much everyone picked from what I saw of predictions of what people would think people wanted to do. The only thing that I thought about this front row is I almost think this actually stands up to be the best front row the Lions currently have, the most in form anyway. I think Wyn Jones has been exceptional. I think he is head and shoulders above Mako Vunipola and Rory Sutherland. So I think that stands out. Cowan Dickey, I think I fully agree, has played his way into this. I don't think he was probably the first choice when the sort of series began, and he's just played exceptional. And then Tyg Furlong. The only thing for me was that with such a, you've basically picked the best people to be at the front, and I'm not sure, as we saw in that South Africa game, the scrum can hold out for a good while, but the South Africa scrum is massive. It just dominates that thing, and I get very worried when I see the best names starting from minute one. That as soon as that gets into the late game, where as soon as you start to take some of those names out, that's where South Africa will look to target that. I personally probably wouldn't have played Cowan Dickey, even though I think he's actually been the best hooker. I personally would have kept him on the bench because we saw it against the Stormers and saw it against the other club levels. The pick and goes he does, the back of the maul work that he does is very good. But I think from minute one against a fully fledged South African team, he won't be able to make that impact that he does against the Stormers team at minute one. I think that the time he would be able to do that would be in minute 60 when he comes on fresh and everyone else is a bit more tired and smashes their way through. So I wasn't too sure about that front row. I think it is the best front row, but I'm not sure whether that was the right route to go down. Itoje and Jones. A lot of people called this one. I actually disagreed with this one pretty much across the board. I thought what we saw in the South Africa A game was basically South Africa play the game very well of, if we can get a penalty, we'll take a penalty and we'll move 50 feet up the field and we'll just chunk that away time after time. Itoje does give away those penalties. He is the on the edge player. He does really well at line out steals. He can break down a maul really well if you need him to, but we don't really see it happen against South Africa because you have people like Etzebeth, who's about 6'15", and somehow takes every ball in a line out. He holds the ball in the mauls. It's so hard to shut down. I get very worried that Itoje will play too much and give away penalties too early on, and that'll just be easy points. And then, like we said about Alan Wynne-Jones, he's come full circle. Will the pressure on him to have a good game push him to give penalties away like we've seen in a couple of other games? The rolling away tackles, he gets involved, absolutely, but the penalties that he does give away could be a bit of a surprise. So the front five, I think, for me is strong in terms of players and the names they brought in, but I'm not sure it was the correct sort of front five to go in against the South Africa team. What do you think about the actual front five as a unit going to be going against the South Africa front five?
It's going to be interesting because if you look at the side that Jock Nino have picked, he actually went with Trevor Nyakane, Bonambi, and Oxton Shear as the starting tight forwards. So yeah, you can expect a big bomb squad effect from Kitsoff and Malherbe and Marks when they do come on, and I do see where you get with Furlong and Jones being the starting props. So it could get difficult for the likes of Sutherland and Sinclair towards the end of the game. Not that I don't say Sinclair or Sutherland is any good, but just having that quality of Kitsoff, probably the best loose head prop in World Rugby currently, and in Malherbe not backing away at all. So it's going to be interesting to see. And then the likes of Itoje and Jones together against Etzebeth and the likes of Mostert. Mostert is the good guy, so he doesn't give away too many penalties. Compare him to maybe Alwyn Jones, who also don't give away too many penalties. And then you've got these two firing lock forwards in Itoje and Etzebeth, who will definitely keep us on our toes. Every time there's a tackle being made or a carry being pulled, we're going to wonder, are they going to give away a penalty somehow down the line? But overall, like I said, I'm pretty happy with our pick for the Springboks. Obviously, this is a very strong tight forwards of the Lions as well. I think they would be able to do the damage for about 60 minutes odd, but I don't think afterwards they will have as much impact.
Yeah, I think that's where that'll begin to shut down for me. Will be that late game again, as we saw in that South Africa A game, that they could definitely hold it and hold it well, and that's where it began to break down. One thing that I did pick up on when I did the preview video for this game was the front eight in particular. The method they seem to have gone with for me, especially when you look at that 6-7-8 combo. We talk about the back row. This was a massive discussion of who was going to get what. Most people expected Byrne. I think most people probably would have had Curry at 7. And a lot of people called for Faletau at 8, and I'm quite glad with the switch up that happened. I actually massively agree with not having Ty Burn at 6, mainly because of being able to play in so many areas. He can play 4, 5, and 6 and plays them all equally well. And I don't necessarily mind that because as an impact player from the bench, it'll work well. Courtney Laws has been good, actually. When you see him play, I've been quite impressed, really, because he hasn't even been involved in the England team too much, Courtney Laws, for a little while now.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see him in good form at 6. I think he'll be able to do the same thing. Tom Curry and Hamish Watson for me are a little actually interchangeable in terms of the style of play they have. They both love to run with the ball in hand. The jackling work from them both is superb. The tackle rate numbers they have are really, really good. So that's not too bad for me. Jack Conan over Faletau, I think, is probably the correct move for me. Faletau's been very quiet. People are absolutely calling for Faletau in there. I think it's the right move to not go, and Conan has shown he's happy to just smash into the line. But one thing that I saw in this, especially 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, they're all what I would consider to have height rather than weight. So for me, one thing that stood out is I thought maybe the Lions are going to just sort of concede that they're probably going to lose scrums, and instead they're actually going to target the line out more than the scrums to begin with. You've got, Courtney Laws massive in the line out, Satoje massive in the line out, Alan Wynne, one of the main jumpers for Wales, Tom Curry in there, can get up if he needs to. I've actually got a feeling that they know the South African scrum is going to be heavier and might actually outpower them. And instead, they've gone down a route of, we'll accept the penalty and wait for them to kick to the touchline, and we'll attempt to then steal the line out or get a breakdown there. Because I don't know about you, this pack to me, I haven't looked at the stats, I haven't looked at the weight, but this to me doesn't seem like the heaviest Lions scrum you could put out from this 1 to 8 from me.
Yeah, if you look at it this way, maybe, there's not too much difference between Tom Curry and Hamish Watson. Courtney Laws are quite a big guy, so if you look at Byrne, probably a little bit heavier than Byrne at this stage, and then Jack Conan is definitely lighter than Faletau. Sam Simmons would not have been fitting into the kind of play that they would have wanted for this first test. Like you said, they might be a little bit worried about scrum, but now that you've mentioned it, that line-out time, Jack Conan, Curry, Laws, Wyn Jones, and Itoje all can be line-out options, and that's what they're going to need. Because, I mean, you're not going to easily steal a ball from Etzebeth or from Mostert or even Peter Steph de Toey. So our only other line-out option is Kwagga Smith, and he's one of the smallest guys on the pitch. So, yeah, I think this would be probably more in the line to have a little bit more line-out options for the Lions. But as far as stealing lineouts, I don't think they're going to get very far. So it's maybe just to just have plenty of options at lineout time. And then, I don't know, scrum time at this stage, I think, with the starting lineups, I think they're pretty evenly matched at this stage. It might be a problem coming when South Africa sends on their bomb squad. It might be a little bit different.
I think it's going to be some interesting competition. It'd be nice to see how the forwards get on. We never know. We say all this, and then the Lions might win every single scrum in the game, and it might. We're not international coaches. That's why Gatland's picking the team, not me. So it's probably a good move. Price and Bigger in the halfback partnership. You pretty much said everything I agree with. In all honesty, I think they've stood out as the best. They've worked the best together out of all the combos. It's an interesting point actually about the Marcus Smith thing. That it would have been a bit of a nothing to lose, everything to gain if you'd thrown him out there and they'd lost. They could just put him on. Actually doing this, if they lose this first game, the pressure on Marcus Smith to turn up to the second test would be enormous on him. So I don't know how he'd be able to cope with that one. Maybe they might put him on the bench to have an impact from the bench because he's a younger lad. I was surprised to see him get on the team. I personally still haven't seen this shining star that he has. I haven't seen him at the club level where he's obviously been outperforming everyone apparently. I've seen him in the England internationals. They did through the July internationals, and he was perfectly good. He's a perfectly standard fly half for me. I haven't seen anything that's quite shown him to be this extra level. And then Gatland picked him for the Lions. There must be something I've missed along the way, but I'm sure he'll probably get a test in there somewhere. But I think Bigger and Price is the correct call. That final sort of the backs here, Van der Merwe for me, I actually think was the wrong pick. For me, I think it goes both ways. I think Van der Merwe will be able to smash his way through Colby. I mean, he's a strong lad, but I still think the size difference and the weight difference of what we see Van der Merwe do with tackle breaks, I think he will go through Colby, but I just don't see that defense holding up against Colby. I really think it's going to be a battle of whoever has the most balls scores the most tries on that wing. So I wasn't too sure about that one. Watson, I do actually agree with you. He wouldn't have been my choice either. I think Hogg was pretty much set. I think he's done very well. But Watson, I did read up a little bit earlier today about the reasons behind Josh Adams not being picked there. And Gatland has sort of said because of the whole thing with him is now having a new son and his new child being born, that he was basically saying that they thought because of the pressure of that, they didn't feel he performed as well in the Stormers game as they would have liked to have seen him. And so they took him out of this game just to settle that down, and he'll come back in a later game. So that's fine. I think Watson fills in well. He can play fullback, can play wing. Going to be going up against Mapimpi on that wing. Tough ask. He's a tough lad to stop. I think they will have met in the World Cup final. I can't remember if Watson was on the wing for that one, but Mapimpi certainly was. So maybe that'll be a bit of a revenge thing. And then finally, the partnership in the centre. This is probably the main talking point for me in this one. Henshaw, for me, lack of game time was my big worry for him. Fitness, only played 40 minutes against the Stormers. Has he had the game time to play 12? Big ask from him. The Henshaw-Daly combo, I actually don't know if it's happened at all in the tournament. I actually don't know if they arranged this. Trying to look back at games. So it's a brand new combo in the centre, maybe. And then Henshaw with the lack of time. But the big thing that I said in the preview video that I was doing is, to me, I would utilise Daly in the way that Australia do with Reece Hodge, in that Daly is pretty much the only player in here who's going to be the most accurate long-range kicker. And given how close these games are probably going to end up being, the sort of 5-point marker either way, having someone like Daly come on later in the game, fitness-wise, and having that long-range kicking option, I think would have been a much better late-game tactic. And I think if you were South Africa, the man to target would be Daly. If you can take him out with injury, you're going to have to fill in a replacement. They lose the long-range kicking. They've got to play you up front. Then I think that's the area to go down. What do you think of the actual centre combo that the Lions have gone for here?
Yeah, look, Elliot Daly, for me, like I said, I don't think he was a starting centre at the beginning of this tour. He was just there as maybe a utility backline player that can fill in at fullback, wing, or at centre. But the way he's performed on the field in that provincial games have been quite outstanding. I've been loving to see him play, and like I say, Henshaw, no game time, but probably the best centre before they actually went on tour.
Yeah.
So there must be a lot of confidence from Gatland on Henshaw to give him 40 minutes of play and then start him for the first test. But I do think that Henshaw might be pulled off at halftime to be replaced by Owen Farrell. So, yeah, I don't know. I would have started maybe with Farrell and Daly just because they're an English combination. But we'll have to wait and see what Gatland's got up his sleeve, man.
Yeah, well, let's move on to the replacements bench. We talked about the team for a good chunk here. So the actual replacements bench that's going to be coming on, again, this was a big call for me, is where are people going to come on? I think one of the key ones is going to be that Farrell combo. Again, this would be another reason for me. If you were South Africa, I would be targeting Elliot Daly like no tomorrow. If you can remove Elliot Daly from that pitch early on with some big hits and stuff, if he has to go off, you basically force Henshaw to go to 13, and you force Owen Farrell on at 12. Because I'm not actually sure how they'll work. We have seen Owen Farrell try and work with some of the fly halves. We saw the combination with him and Finn Russell. That didn't really work. And I can't even think if we've seen them try the Dan Bigg or Owen Farrell. It might have even been the Japan game the first time we saw that. And it's not been something they've tried and tested. I wouldn't be surprised here if you could even see Owen Farrell wanting to come on at 10 very late in the game, or if there's an injury to Bigger. I think taking Elliot Daly out of the equation for the South African coaching staff messes up an awful lot for this Lions team and how they're going to try and manipulate their team around. Also going for a 5-3 split, which is something I didn't even consider really, that both teams have gone for this 5-3 split rather than the 6-2, which we were probably all going to expect. So let's talk about the front row replacements. Sutherland, Owen and Sinclair. How does this pan out for you, do you reckon?
Yeah, like I said, I'm a bit surprised that Jamie George have not been selected. Nothing against Ken Owens, he does really good on the field, but will he have that agility that the likes of Jamie George or Luke Cowan-Dickey will have towards the end? Something that you need, because you saw there towards the end they were just tapping and going, and he didn't really make any meters with that. So I'm a bit surprised with Owens on the bench. Sutherland, a lot of people have been saying he hasn't been in the greatest of form. For me, he's been playing absolutely brilliant. I don't know what I've seen compared to the other people. Sinclair, another good player. If it wasn't for Furlong, he would probably have started this one. But Byrne, obviously, he's for me. I would have started him at number 6 ahead of Courtney Laws, to be quite honest. I think Byrne has been one of the standout players in this Lions side for a while now. And then having Watson there on the bench trying to really disrupt the Springboks' ruck time. I think we got Quagga Smith on there to try and neutralize Watson. And Murray, obviously, he's going to bring that calm and experience to the side with his box kicks, something that's going to probably be used a lot in this game. I think is the box kicking over the top, those high up and unders. So he'll be vital when it comes to that. He'll just need to maybe look at the time or the speed of his deliveries and stuff. Owen Farrell, like I say, he's a ticking time bomb. I don't know, in that test, I know the South African discipline wasn't too great, but I know that Rassie Erasmus did single out 2 tackle attempts from Owen Farrell that could have easily have been yellow or red cards. So it's going to be interesting to see how his demeanor is going to be when he comes onto the field. If the Lions are leading, he'll probably have a good game. But if the Lions are trailing by a couple of points, he might just go and try and batch things up and maybe get a yellow card down the line. Leon Williams, for me, hasn't been that great. I think he's trying to overdo things at times. We've seen South Africa trying and neutralize him with some big up and unders and then really rushing up in defense and putting him under pressure. So I hope that he'll have a better game this time around, because we all know Hawk tends to make some mistakes if he's under pressure as well. So maybe he could be a vital link in that second half as well.
Yeah, I think the key thing that I saw in this bench is when I think of a bench, I quite like the way that Eddie Jones looks at a game rather than some other coaches that very much looks at it as there's a team of 23, not a starting 15 and a bench. It's very much they have the starters and they actually refer to them always as the finishers. They just they're there to finish the game off rather than being replaced. And the only thing I see in this sort of set here is that I don't know who's going to be the impact players. When I think of someone coming on from the bench, I want someone to come on and that person could almost single-handedly win the game for the team. The front row in particular, Sutherland, Owens and Sinclair, I think the reason people are a little bit down on them is not because they're not playing bad by any means. What they're doing is playing exactly what their role is. Ken Owens is probably one of the most reliable hookers in world rugby. He doesn't really do anything special, but he gets his lineouts in. He has a very high success rate on lineouts. He does the job at the back of a maul, and he doesn't really collapse scrums. And that's his job. He gets in, and that's all he needs. Sutherland's been doing pretty much the same thing. Gets in and does the job. Kyle Sinclair is probably the best performer for me out of this front three here. The tackle rate's been much better from him, and he seems to have a bit more drive about him to want to do something. But none of them there am I going to see that are going to come on. And as soon as they come on, I think, right, that's the Lions scrum going to get bolstered. It's just replacing people, and they'll hopefully be able to do the job. Tyg Byrne is probably one of the few on there that I think is like, yes, this lad would come on from the bench. He can come on at 4, 5, or 6. The turnovers are going to be increased. The lineouts are going to be great. He's scoring tries. Number 6 breaking through and scoring tries is what you want to see. I think he'll have impact superb. Watson and Tom Curry, I really think have very interchangeable game plans. So I don't even know if they would do a direct swap or if they would put Watson on and move Curry to 8 so they could have them both on at the same time. But again, to me, one doesn't make more of an impact than the other. It's just replacing like for like. Conor Murray, I actually think has had a worse tournament than Ali Price. So And he doesn't really do anything special either. The box kicking has actually been worse. I thought before the tournament in the Six Nations he had better box kicking than Ali Price, but this tournament anyway hasn't been the best for him. Ali Price has shone through in every region, so that's not a great improvement. Owen Farrell in that A team was not doing anything special. In fact, he gave away pretty much two tries. He had the one charge down from Etzebeth that ran the length of the field. And then I can't even remember if it might have been him or it might have even been Conor Murray did the box kick over for Cheslin Colby to make his great run. So decision-making from him, not the best. And then finally, Liam Williams is, again, a superb player, but he's just being more aggressive. It's not necessarily he's playing better. Would I say he's better than at Hogg at fullback? It's a different skill set. He's much better under the high ball. I think he's worse on the counter run. I think he's got a worse boot in terms of distance, but I think he's probably got a more accurate kicking in terms of the up and unders. So different skill set. But I imagine Liam Williams is actually there as a replacement for Duhan van der Merwe. I think what will happen is that they'll throw Duhan van der Merwe against Colby, and if it doesn't work, put Liam Williams on, who can be more defensively minded and can deal with Duhan van der Merwe. However, I don't see anyone in this team that's going to come on and have a real impact in this game. So I think it's 60 minutes. If Lions aren't already winning this game, nothing really is going to change from that 60 minutes onwards. So I'm not sure about this bench for me. I think they probably could have gone down a different region in this one.
Yeah, maybe just watch out for Tite Burn. I think he has made some exceptional strides. He's been probably one of the standout loose forwards in World Rugby at the moment, or maybe most underestimated loose forward. But he's been making some really good impact off the bench and in starting. So maybe between Byrne and Watson, they might just bring a little spark. And then Murray just as that consistent link with the experience. I don't know. It's a tough one. Owen Farrell could come up on the 60th minute and destroy the whole game for the Lions anyway. So
drop goal it the wrong way. Why not?
Yeah.
Give it. Right, we've talked an awful lot about the Lions. Let's move on. Let's talk about the South African team. We've talked about that sort of. We'll start off with the front eight because that's where the real power is going to come in this game. So this was pretty much the team we saw play the Lions in the first test, if you will. Khaleesi coming back in is going to be a massive boost for that squad coming in there. And did anyone really put a foot wrong? I thought Steph du Toit had a superb game. I thought it was a real shame that he didn't manage to see the full 80 minutes out. Etzebeth was all over the field, charge downs, tackles, line-out wins, was doing superb. And we didn't really see that front row suffering a great deal either in the scrummaging time. So for me, I think the 1 to 8 is a great setup here, and I think they'll just be looking to repeat what happened in the last game for me.
Yeah, look, the weakness in the South African team for me in the front is Oxenshire and Trevor Nyakane. They haven't been in the greatest of form as of late, and that's the one area where the Lions might look to expose them early on in the game, maybe the first half, because I don't think they will see the second half any one of those, maybe all three of them, because Bonambi is lacking a little bit of game time. So expect Malcolm Marx and Kitshoff and Mo Harbert to come on at halftime and then just try and put the front foot for the Springboks in that second half. It's a bit, obviously, he can play an 80-minute game. He's a strong bugger all over the field, like you mentioned, as well as the Tuay. Those two are probably our most valuable players in the pack of forwards is Etzebeth and the Tuay. Another area where we might be a little bit exposed is in number 8. We've lost our stalwart in Dwayne Vermeulen. And since he's left, Kwagga is not a bad player, but he's actually a specialist blindside flanker. So to have him at number 8, I don't know. He hasn't put a foot wrong, but he hasn't really impressed as well. So I might say the front, the back of the 1, 2, and 3, and maybe the number 8 could be an area where the Lions try and expose us. And then obviously Khaleesi also back, you say, is going to have a massive impact for the side. I, for one, I'm a Khaleesi fan, but I'm not convinced that he will be match fit for this one. I know they said he had a big impact against Georgia in that opening test. He arrived at the ruck most of the times first. But it's a couple of weeks later and he's already short of game time. So hopefully he will have that kind of impact that the coaches want him to have. but I'm not sold out on that.
Will it be, do you reckon we'll get 30 minutes in and both Alan Wynne and Khaleesi will go off at the same time? They've given up on game time and both captains off. Have them replaced. No fitness in. It could be fun. I think they'll be looking to. I honestly don't know which way the scrum will go. It felt so one-sided in that South Africa A game, and I was a little bit disappointed that the Lions weren't even doing more with it. I thought it'd be a real targeting area for them. It's the area you want to match up with in the South African team, because if they get the penalty, they kick to the touch line, and then it's a maul. And I think the South African maul's probably up there for one of the best in the world. It just keeps going. It just doesn't stop once it gets moving. So I think they'll be looking to try and avoid penalties. I wouldn't even be surprised if they'll probably do the first 10, 15 minutes. They'll try some scrums. They'll try and push against it. And if it doesn't go the way of the Lions, I can see a lot of the Lions scrum tactics being just plant your feet in and hold it there. Don't walk it backwards. Don't concede a penalty, and just let South Africa play the ball out and try and hopefully the ref says to Faf de Klerk, get it out, get using it. Don't let them hold it in for a little bit. But that'll be interesting. So move to the halfback partnership, Faf de Klerk and Pollard. Faf de Klerk with his card in the A game. What was your view on the card for that one?
No, look, I get that it's a yellow card, but if you really look closely, it was shoulder first, basically shoulder to shoulder, and then it went up to the head. So I think Gatlin can argue as much as he like on that one, saying that it should have been red, but first contact was shoulder to shoulder, and then it spilled to the head. So not too much in that one for me.
No, I thought it was going to end up being a yellow, and I think it's a weird thing in these sorts of games. It's almost like a Rugby World Cup final. As much as you can chant and want for a card, it can be a bit game ruining if you get tackles like that. You have a red card. I don't know if you saw the France Australia third test. There was Corey Obeti got red carded in that game I don't know what it was, like the first 10 minutes, and it was a bit like nothing. A bit of a rough tackle, but it's one of those things. And then the game flips on its head, and it really damages the team. So I don't really mind seeing yellow cards come out for stuff like that. I don't think it was. I mean, I was surprised Faf de Klerk could even do a high tackle. What is he, about 5'2"? But I think he'll be looking to have a good game. I mean, he doesn't really put a foot wrong, Faf de Klerk, really, in terms of scrum half duties. His box kicking's great. The running line swim's great. The little dummy pass he does is superb. Linking up with Pollard, that's a tested method, isn't it? That halfback partnership will work really well for them.
Yeah, no, definitely. For me, there's nobody better or no better combination than the Klerk and Pollard at the moment for South Africa. Although Kobus Reinach has been knocking on the door, he's been left out of this the match 23 again today, or for this weekend. So. Yeah, the Klerk will probably play the full maybe 60, 70 minutes and then get Yankees onto the field. But hopefully Pollard can play a full 80, because I'm not so convinced with Elton Yankees there on the bench. It's going to be nip and tuck, really, to be quite honest.
They'll just switch up. Well, so Deolende and Am will be the same centre partnership we saw already for them. Am no longer captain. So, it's not a terrible thing. It allows someone just to crack on with their game and get on. Deolende is a bit of a smash ball guy. He's hard to stop. So we've already seen how that works, and it works well for South Africa. I think they'll work well. The only real change coming in here is Mapimpi instead of Nkosi. And I like Mapimpi. I think he's a really good player. I saw a stat earlier today. He scored a try in every game he's ever played in for South Africa, which I didn't know was a thing. I don't even know how many caps he's on, but it must be into the double figures by now. I mean, that's a good stat on his part to keep going. I don't think that's a bad move at all, moving him in there. No, I don't think Nkosi had a bad game by any means. I thought he played very well. But Mapimpi, Colby, Leroux, was this the World Cup final back three setup? Was it the same three?
Yes, it was.
I think it'd be the same.
Leroux, Colby, Deolende, and Mapimpi, Pollard, and the Klerk was all theirs. So,
well, here we go.
This is our World Cup back line.
I mean, what more can you ask for in this? I think they'll be looking to play very well. I did think Leroux struggled a little bit in the Georgia game that I saw him in. I did, when you were doing a live stream for that one, I jumped in at the halftime, and I think that was sticking out a little bit. The Leroux was struggling a little bit with his kicks, but I think he's really settled that game down. and has managed to get his act together a little bit now. And like you said, this back line is just going to be enormous. I think I would like to see a little bit more of this game branching out to the backs a little bit. I did think that Test A game was a little bit tight in terms of the forwards. Probably good rugby and a good workout for the lads in the forwards. But as a spectator, I would love to see people like Mapimpi and Colby have the ball a lot more than just a charge down, run in, try. I'm really looking forward to see how they get on. But the call from you is that the struggle for South Africa might come in on the subs. That's going to be your thing. Talk us through the subs a little bit. You'll know a lot more than me about the subs bench, because I think I agree with you. From what I've seen of South Africa so far, they play very well until a couple of these lads come on, and it really begins to slow the momentum down. And like you say, Yantis for me is there's been quite a few just bizarre. It's almost like game choices, really. The kick over the tops to no one, crossfield kicks that you feel don't need to happen. I think just game awareness and game choices haven't been the best from him. But you can talk us through a little bit more about the South African bench.
Yeah, now look, Kitshoff, Marx and Malherbe and the Jager for me is master strokes. To bring them off from the bench with, say, 15 minutes gone, you bring on this bomb squad bench in Kitshoff, Marx and Malherbe and the Jager, and they just improve the side, because I do feel that the Jager is a better lock than Mostert. Take nothing away from Mostert, though. And then Malherbe and Kitshoff and Marx for me is a better front row than the one that we're starting with. So credit to those. But the trouble comes when we move to Elkstad, Jantjies, and Willemse. Elkstad for me is, I don't know, he's not done enough in my view to warrant the selection. I don't think he would have been there if it hasn't been for Dwayne Vermeulen's injury. Maybe the likes of Jasper Wiese having a little niggle at this stage. So, yeah, whether he can prove himself off the bench, will he do something magical? I don't think so. The thing with Herschel Jantjies, his form hasn't been great. He's exceptional in the World Cup, he was exceptional. But if you look at his current form for the Stormers, it hasn't been that great. He hasn't had much game time as well. So, again, I think Van der Kerk might be finishing off this game unless we're leading by quite a big margin. And Elton Jantjies, I would not have picked him at all. He's not international level at this stage. He's a super rugby player and a Currie Cup level player, but he has never made that step up to the international side at all. I don't think he warrants his selection. I think there's better players that we could have selected and could have made a bigger impact as well. Willemse, another guy whose form for me hasn't been great. I think he's been selected because he's been favored by the coaching staff. You can see he hasn't played well at the Stormers, switching between fullback and fly off. Now suddenly he's a centre replacement, and I don't know. I would have picked Morné Steyn in the place of Elton Jantjies, just to have somebody more reliable, and then probably we would have gone with Francois Steyn instead of Willemse, because Francois Steyn got the experience and he can kick those long kicks as well. So yeah, I might be a little bit harsh on Elkstad, the two Jantjies and Willemse, but I just don't feel that it's our best bench.
No, well, it'll be fun to see how they get on. It's going to be interesting because I actually think both benches could be better. So it's quite a nice duality here that we have. We have two captains for both teams who might not be as match fit as they could be. They might not even see the full 80 themselves. We've got two benches that could be stronger, and we would have actually picked different benches for our own sort of team as we're going. So I think this game might really be a tale of sort of 2/3 and a third. You might see that first sort of 50, 60 minutes being one game, and then that final sort of 20, 30 minutes might just open up into a bit of a bloodbath of people just running around each other and mistakes all over the place, and it might get a little bit messy. But I am really looking forward to see how it gets on. What is the game tactic for you as a South African watcher? What do you want to see South Africa bring to this game that mixes it up a little bit from the first game?
Now, look, I don't think we're going to change too much from our game tactics. We all know we're going to basically use the World Cup tactics where we went with the little box kicks over the top, chip and chases, up and unders. So I don't expect us to change a lot from that. And looking through the side, hopefully we can sort of play a kind of game that we played in the World Cup final, where Lukanya and Mapimpi were just destructive. And hopefully we can see that sort of play again. Maybe Pop have a few snipes down the blind side. Pollard maybe taking the ball up a little bit more, trying to hit a gap. The Alendi maybe passing a little bit more to Lukanya. And then obviously Cheslin Colby and LaRue will bring that spark if it's going to turn into a running game.
Yeah, well, I hopefully they listen to you. They need to start watching some videos and take our advice. They know a little bit more. From the Lions, I probably want to see, to be honest, just more back work. I was really quite annoyed to be watching so much in that first game. They tried to front up in the scrums and to me lost, and then didn't stop. They kept trying to front up in the scrum. Even after they conceded 6 or 7 penalties at scrum time, the next scrum, they still tried to see if they could beat them rather than getting the ball in and out. No need to be fronting up in these mauls. The pick and goes, there was far too many for me for the Lions. One man trying to run on his own at people like Etzebeth he's just going to knock you over. There's no purpose to it. I would like to see the Lions' backs open up. I'm really hoping that with the back line sort of switching up for this one, that it becomes a little bit more of a change in the team and makes it a little bit more unpredictable. People like Anthony Watson can run on his own absolutely fine. Duan van der Merwe can just smash through when he needs to, and Stuart Hogg can do the counter running. I'm really hoping they manage to utilize those backs a little bit more and don't rely so much on the forwards, because I think if you play into a South Africa game, it will be a South Africa win again. And but what's your prediction? Give me a score. What do you think the difference will be for this one?
I actually entered a competition for this weekend, trying to win myself a Springbok jersey. So I win with 29 points to 19 for the Springboks. Hopefully they will get a few tries in and bulk that score a little bit. But I don't expect it to be a one-sided affair. I think it will be close up until maybe the 70th minute, hopefully, and then one team will take the initiative and take the game from there.
Yeah, I think I called this one. I think I called this one at South Africa to win by 5. Is the way I thought it was going to go. But I actually got a feeling this one you might see both teams score over the 20 marker. Just because I think that first game was a little bit feeling each other out. What's the other team going to bring? What are we going to learn from it? How are we going to go about it? And I think this one is now going to shift up a little bit more to be, let's utilize some people. You probably see people as soon as people like Cheslin Colby and Mapimpi get a try each, you've got to go, right, here you go, Duan, get yourself down the line and get going somewhere. They can't afford to be sort of picking going. The Lions team for me hasn't been doing that well in the mauls anyway. I don't see 5-meter maul tries coming from the Lions. I do see them coming from South Africa if they can get themselves into that area. And I think the points kicking is going to be big. I expect Pollard to be getting a good rack up. I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe a 30 points to 25 to South Africa. I think it will open up a little bit, but I've got a feeling it might go South Africa's way. It might be test one, but we could be wrong. It could go the other way, like we say. Owen Farrell might come on and just decimate that game completely. And
no, I'm expecting the Lions to lead and Owen Farrell to lose the game for the Lions. With a yellow card, maybe.
A nice little shoulder charge in the Owen Farrell special, as it is.
That's special, yeah.
Well, thank you for joining me today, Guru. We'll wrap it up there. We have been going for nearly an hour now. We've talked about both the teams. We've gone through a little preview. We've done a little score prediction. I think that's a nice way to go. Any final words from you, Guru, before we head off?
No, just go Boca then.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for joining us today. Thank you for Guru for joining me in a chat. If you have enjoyed this video, remember to drop it a like and make sure you pop over to Rugby Guru's channel. Pop him a little subscribe on his channel. You've done really well recently. I've seen your channel boosting up real well, so it's nice to see you growing. And he does do, of course, the live commentary for the games. I assume you'll be doing this one for the South Africa Lions game as it be going on. So make sure you go check out his live stream when that's on as well, guys. I hope you all enjoy today, guys. I will see you next time. From me, I'm the Rugby Guru. Bye-bye.